Alright, hello and welcome back to Ashgabat Cat's Let's Play That. Today, we're taking a look at Dark Tower. Now, this game is interesting because I went through some technical difficulties to get this game to you. I initially played it, things went poorly, on the technical side, gameplay-wise, of course I was the best ever. And so technical-wise, things went bad. Ultimately, I had to scrap the entire thing. Not necessarily because I decided to, but because it didn't record any more video than just the first frame. Anyway, all of that to say that usually in such an instance, I would just give up and I'd be like, nope, next game. But you know what? This game was good enough that it's like I kind of would feel bad if I didn't feature it. And so today I introduce you to this game that has so captured my heart, Dark Tower. Now, I don't want you to get your hopes up too high. I mean, it's a good game. Some might say an acceptably great game. I very doubt few people would say that like this is an amazing game. But this is a game that it's like in my journeys of randomly delving through the list of MAME ROMs, like seeing this game, it's kind of surprisingly passable. So I guess, oh, wow, this has never happened before, but in a good way this time. But anyway, sort of setup is you can jump, you can bash them with your hammer. I guess it's a club. And you fight through these levels. Now, okay, this is a little trickier than it looks on first glance. I'm just good at it because, you know, I played it for, I guess it was only 14 minutes, but I played it for a little bit before. Huh. I'm working on this hypothesis that the axe power-ups make your stick even longer, but I don't know if that's actually true or just something I've imagined. Anyway, I really don't understand too much more about this game, other than it seemingly like sprouted up out of the ether and then willed its way onto my MAME list, because otherwise, like, in the beginning it says something like California Arcade Game Room, which, I mean, I'm sure there were many arcades in California, and I'm sure it was a thriving arcade metropolis, but I don't think there were many, like, video game developers that were called California Game Arcade. It makes me wonder if this is just, like, some sort of custom game that kind of disappeared or appeared somewhere, but at the same time, why, if this was the custom game, it's like, where would the ROM be coming from? That doesn't make any sense. Well, anyway, otherwise, basic setup, I guess ultimately it's kind of like Puzzle Bobble, where you try to beat all the enemies, and once you do, then you can move on to the next stage. Let's see, I did make some interesting points when I was playing through it the first time. I think it was like fusion of gameplay mechanics. So it's kind of interesting. So you're beating these guys over the head, but just like in Dig Dug, it takes multiple hits to actually finally kill them. But then there is some other, I want to say it kind of seemingly inherits from Ghosts and Goblins. Maybe if not in like actual, well, partially in terms of theme, I would like to say, but also mostly in terms of gameplay, in that it's like hyper focused, hyper refined. Like you've got jumps and you've got moves, and that's basically it. You can jump and move. Now, noticeably unlike Ghosts and Goblins, you have a tremendous amount of control of your character midair. Let's show this off around here. So here I'm jumping left, and I'm optioning out of it. Now it's weird, because like you can basically completely reverse direction, and you can even go a further back distance than you started. That's amazing. But it's weird because you only have that sort of control at sort of the apex. So okay, I'm gonna hold right, jump, and hold right. There's a very clear moment where it's frozen. Also, this hasn't been highlighted just yet because I've been so good at this game so far. But every time you die and lose all your lives, then you have to, I mean, you get the option to continue, which is always welcome. But what's interesting is it resets all the enemies. So, I mean, I'm not going to say this game takes a grand amount of skill, but it does take more skill than one would initially think. Also, well, I guess one thing I haven't been able to demonstrate, but in terms of ambushing these enemies, well, okay, I guess absent a time limit, things are going quite smoothly. But at least my first playthrough, I was always trying to like fall down on them and bash them. And as it turns out, you can do a lot of things in this game, but that is like one of the very few things you absolutely cannot do. I don't know why they coded it up that way, where you can't like fall on the enemy. If the enemy falls on you, you got full license to bash them. But if you try to jump on or fall down on them, then apparently they get priority. So pretty much the safest way to approach enemies is to actually not, and just wait around and wait for them to approach you. Not the most thrilling of gameplay at times. Also, one thing I really like about this game, or the CRT filter I've managed to jury rig for this experience, but the torches. Take a look at the torches. Like, people say, it's like, oh, why would you want a CRT filter for your game? That doesn't make any sense. You're just gonna make it look worse. But it's like, when the result is, you look at these torches, and it looks like actual fire, and it's just so warm. Oh, nice. I accidentally got the jackpot. And nope, no chrysalids for you. You gotta get to the next level the hard way. Oh yeah, so level 10 coming up. This was more of a surprise when I played through it in the beginning, but well, I mean, I can't even pretend to be surprised the second time through. Level 10, well, I can't pretend to be surprised, but that doesn't mean you can't be surprised. So I'll just leave this as a teaser. Level 10, something's going to happen, something that will fundamentally change the gameplay. Don't get your hopes up too much. It is, of course, just is a boss. I don't know why this game of all games has a boss. This silly bubble bobble type game has a boss, and it's over. I mean, to be fair, it's an easy boss to begin with. Oh, well, we can play him again. Oh, or not. The game just decides to call it good. It's like, well, you mostly beat the boss, and I can half respect that. Welcome to the next level. So in this level, oh, well, you got to put in the credits. I like that, though. Like it, you beat the boss, so it lets you go to the next level, but you did die, so it's not going to let you play for free. And yeah, I beat him so fast you might have missed him, but I don't know if you count that, but like a Renner, the Red Devil from Ghosts and Goblins, a Renner, is in this game. And that's also something that just makes me wonder, like, what is the story behind this game's genesis? Because I'm pretty sure you can't just straight up use a video game character from someone else's franchise. In fact, it's kind of funny. If you look at the Capcom licenses right now, or the current Let's Play rules, like, you can basically do whatever you want with Capcom content, but one thing you notably cannot do is use Capcom IP for, like, Twitch emotes or whatever. And at the beginning, I was like, what the heck? That doesn't make any sense. But now that I think about it, the fighting game community probably has all sorts of illicit Street Fighter Twitch emotes going on all over the place. It's probably actually a small cottage industry, so I can kind of see why Capcom would be strangely down on them for that. But it is kind of funny, because it's like, it basically reads where it's like, yeah, you can use our games, you can stream your games all you want, you can monetize it as long as it's something normal like YouTube, super chats or whatever, but like, but you absolutely cannot use our IP as Twitch emotes. Like, that is the one thing that we are specifically decrying. Of course, they don't make much mention about if you can stream their games through 3DS capture, but that's a story for another day. Anyway, oh yeah, so this level kind of mixes things up. I don't know if the other levels have had this, but I feel like this is around the time in the game where it gets quite a bit more prominent. Is, you see at the bottom of the screen how there is a hole? Well, it loops around. Oh, that's right. This game was like Pac-Man in that sense. And so yeah, it's like Pac-Man where it like loops around. Well, I mean, I'm not going to say Pac-Man was the only game that did that, but I'd say it's a fairly prominent example of a game that did. Huh. This game is just so much easier. I guess the trick to getting good at arcade games is to play them more than once. What an unthinkable discovery. That's right. You got to come to Ashgabat Cat for the hard-hitting discoveries. Oh well. I would like to set the record straight, though. It's not like this game is my favorite game ever, or I grew up playing this game. No, it was just yesterday I fired up. I figured it's like, well, it's been a long time since I played like a random MAME game. Maybe I should fire it up just to see what it feels like. And then I tried firing it up. I chose this game. This game was like actually better than I expected. Exceeds my admittedly low expectations. And then due to technical difficulties, then I was unable to record it. And it's just, I mean, I could understand if it was a bad game, I would just like chalk it up to chance, misfortune, and just kind of move on with my life. But this is a half-decent game. And you know what? Ashgabat Cat channel is all about focusing on half-decent games. Full decent games? No way, man. It's called No-Name MAME Game for a reason. I just say that. I would just, I mean, previously I would just randomly choose the MAME game. Oh, I randomly choose. That's kind of an oxymoron if you think about it. No, I would just, they would be chosen randomly from a giant list. And so, I mean, some good games would get in there, so a lot of bad games would get in there. And so I basically had no control. And that was kind of the whole point. Oh, speaking of things I have no control over. Okay. Yeah, I was kind of liking this game, but now that I got to this harder level, then it's kind of annoying. There's like a lot of holes that this game has in terms of quality. Oh my. Okay, so I was able to BS my way through that level. 17. We're closer to the boss than not, so I might well, let's just say I'm undecided as to whether or not you'll get to see the second boss. But I can all but guarantee you there will not be a third boss. Either because they forgot to program it in, or because I'm not getting there. Either way you want to think about it, there's nothing after this. Okay, level 18. Completely fair and balanced. Still, I don't know. It's kind of a thrill though, booting up a game and just seeing like what's gonna come next. Trying to guess, being surprised, sometimes seeing exactly what you expected to see. Let's see, 19. So I just gotta survive one level. I immediately die. It's kind of impressive if you think about it. And then we can see what we've got boss-wise. Did the makers of the game think they had too fair of a game going on? And then they're like, well, we gotta really cheap it up for levels 20 to 30. Or are they gonna keep up their strangely generous streak? Because, I mean, this game, while it's not a gimme, it's not a freebie, I mean, it is ultimately an arcade game, like, it's not nearly as hard as these games usually are, because you play something like Bubble Bobble, and it's like, after a while, you're just gonna get completely stuck. But you play this game, and it's like, well, usually you're gonna have to put in a new quarter if you want to beat the stage, but, I mean, you saw that mummy guy, he's clearly not thinking about things, and so it works. Oh. Okay. Now I'm kind of deathly curious, what would the level 30 boss look like? Would it just be 3 of these monsters? It is actually surprisingly difficult with all these little slime guys floating around to actually get a hit on them. And I shudder to think about what happens when we finally get to the bottom of the screen. Okay. I'm also kind of curious, what does level 30 even, or 21 even look like? Is not an advantageous position. Ooh, and he just took that right in the chest. Oh my gosh. Come on, come on. Just a few more. What is this nonsense? Oh gosh, no. How can things be going so right and yet ultimately so wrong? This boss, it was just so easy the first time, and then I just saw 2 of them, and I'm like, it's just 2 of them. How hard can it be? As it turns out, pretty darn hard. I'm also tempted to say that they made the other one, like, noted, sort of intentionally harder than the other one. What's the strategy here? Because, like, once they get to the bottom, that is it. There is, like, nothing you can do. You just have to take the L at that point. Oh, I jumped so high. I jumped to the bottom of the screen. Don't question how video game physics works. It's not really something you want to know. Okay. And then, so now, well, okay. And, so it looks like they just die on their own, which I'm not even going to try and pretend to get on the bottom stage. This is a problem that'll solve itself. I'm a patient person. I'm willing to wait to win. I don't know what I expected from level 21, but if my expectation was anything other than basically the same as the previous N levels, but now a little different, then yeah, that's what we got. That's exactly what we got. Okay, now I'm feeling almost a little embarrassed that I like came back to demo this game. I think I'll play until the credits gone, because I mean, again, these quarters, at least at some point in time, at least metaphorically, to at least to some extent, did at least the once run point represent real life money. We should at least respect that some of the time. But yeah, so that was Dark Tower. I don't know where this game came from. I don't even know if this is a real game. All I know is it's kind of fun, actually. It's not like a lot of fun, but it is enough fun. Honestly, it's more fun than I could expect. Just randomly delving through the world of random arcade games. And I kind of want to let it loop back to the main screen just to kind of show you, like, this California Games thing. Like, what is that? Is that a real thing? Is that, like, a fake thing that was put in by an arcade? I don't... Oh, name entry. Name entry. Okay. So none of the buttons so far have worked. I'm going to press start. Maybe you have to hold the button down? Oh, okay. Oh, I see. So it's second button, and you have to hold it down for a while. This name entry screen is... It's not brilliant, but it is very functional, and it is very usable. I'd say, I don't know, the Game Room, Anaheim, California. See, that does not sound like a video game studio if I ever heard one. So is this just like some small-time arcade game release? Can you imagine that? It's like a couple of dudes in their basement. Well, maybe not basement. Maybe they were cool enough to work from their garage. But it's like a couple of dudes in their garage just making an arcade game and then selling it to the local arcade. And then 20, 30 years later, then somebody like ripped the ROM and then put it on MAME. And the MAME guys were like, well, this is literally an arcade game. It is literally in our mission statement to preserve it. I guess preserve it we will. And preserve it they did. Although, of course, these... I'm assuming, at least in the story, these are a bunch of dudes working out of their garage, so probably it's using some sort of conventional hardware. So it probably wasn't that hard to rip, but and subsequently emulate. But it does kind of make me wonder. Like, I feel like there's a story behind this game, but I feel like at this current point in time, i.e., with the game booted up, recording myself talking to a microphone, it is absolutely impossible to get to the bottom of that story. So, on that potentially hopeless note, this cat's gotta alt-tab to the streaming menu. Side note, now I use OBS, so that means I can record these live, but that also means I have to remember to alt-tab to the menu to option out of this. So, now, for real this time, this cat's gotta scat.